Hi everyone, it's Ash here from FPL Hints, back with another FPL draft update. For those that have followed my content during pre-season, you would have seen an off-the-cuff first draft reveal that I did just over 2 weeks ago, and then I followed that up with an updated version with input from all about FPL. But I've decided to do another version, but this time around, I wanted to create effectively a very short-term team, one that I could invest heavily for the first 4 game weeks and then wildcard after the first international break. So, in order for me to do that, I'd need to use an FDR, and the one that I'll be using in this instance will be my own fixture difficulty rating that I've created for the 23-24 season. I'll share it in the description below. And with this particular FDR, it's basically directing me to consider Chelsea, Man City, West Ham, and Brighton players due to the way the ratings are calculated on this FDR. And also, if I go further down, it's encouraging me to avoid the likes of Wolves, Bournemouth, Fulham, and Newcastle. Now, on this FDR, Arsenal and Liverpool for the first 4 game weeks don't fare too well, but I consider a lot of their premium price players fixture proof players, so I wouldn't completely negate those players. But for the interest of staying as true to this FDR as possible, I'll factor those things in mind. I've mentioned many times before that I'm not heavily invested in FDRs from start to finish. I consider them a good guide during pre-season, but beyond that, I feel that they can become heavily outdated fairly quickly. So, and they're subjective as well. They're just like an interpretation depending on the parameters that you use. So in my case, I don't factor in home and away. It's literally where the opposition were ranked from the previous season. So without further ado, I'm going on to the planning tool that I've been using from fpl.team, and we'll create this quote unquote aggressive draft team for the first 4 game weeks with the intention to wildcard during the first international break. So first of all, just to make it nice and easy, I'm going to go straight to the bench and just sort the bench out. The bench will just be fodder players, so a 4.0 keeper, 4.5 midfielder, 4.0 defender, and a 4.5 forward. And to be honest with you, it'll probably be the same players that I picked last time around from my previous draft. So I'll go straight to a 4.0 keeper, and let's just pick Whitworth. Keep it nice and simple. 4.0 defender. Just put that there. And yeah, I've got no doubt a 4.0 defender will emerge for definite. I don't know who that is right now, but for placeholders' sake, we'll pick Bueno. I need a 4.5 midfielder, and I would hope that Reed of Fulham will make the cut due to the club he plays for, and also for the position that he plays in as well as a midfielder. Let's confirm that there. And then lastly, I need a 4.5 striker. So I'll go straight to Luton Town. I doubt this striker is going to get any minutes at all in the opening game weeks unless there's some serious injuries. It's going to be Taylor of Luton as the dud sub 3. So with this sort of bench, I'd hope that if I really needed a sub, it'll just be the first sub of Reed, and that Bueno and Taylor hopefully won't be relied upon at all. I'm really hoping that I don't need to go to a sub 2 or sub 3 for those first few game weeks. So I'm happy with that combination. Now, coming on to the starting 11. So I need to factor in a goalkeeper first of all, and then coming on to the FDR again. But Chelsea are there. They're top for the FDR ratings. Of course, they've got Liverpool in that opening game, but then the games thereafter, up until the first international break, they've got West Ham, they've got Luton Town, and they've got Nottingham Forest. So Kepa, who hopefully should be their starting keeper, I believe he's 5.0 million. I did consider having James and Chilwell as potential goalkeeping options as well. But then I don't know how fit they'll be come game week 1, and I'd assume that um, Kepa does start the opening game. So let's expand this slightly. So just get this here. So my goalkeeper for this draft will be Kepa. I want Chelsea cover due to the FDR ratings. No, to help that the first game probably won't be a clean sheet at all against Liverpool, but I'm hoping there'll be something in the subsequent 3 game weeks. So yeah, Kepa, nice and simple, just a bit of Chelsea cover there. Liverpool will be difficult fixture for Kepa in the opening game week, but the subsequent game weeks, I'd hope that there's a good chance of clean sheet there. So Kepa gets the nod as the goalkeeper. And then coming on to my defenders, as per my FDR, I definitely want triple Brighton in my squad. Now, the question is, do I go for 2 defenders and an attacker, or do I go for 1 defender and 2 attackers? And I feel just so that I can maximize the amount of funds I've got in my own team and that I don't overlock on positions, I have decided that I'm going to go for 2 Brighton defenders, especially when they've got Luton in that first game. Then they've got Wolves and also West Ham as well. So my 2 Brighton defenders are going to be Estupinan. Just get him in there. And I'm also going to go, just so that I've got the double up, and I've also got a player who isn't too expensive. I'm going to go for Dunk as well as my second Brighton defender. If I can find him, there he is. So there we go. So Dunk and Estupinan make this aggressive lineup for the first 4 game weeks. And then coming on to my other defenders, I mentioned how Arsenal don't favour highly in my FDR, but they've got Forest in that opening game, and then they've got the likes of Palace and Fulham as well. So I'm happy to definitely have an Arsenal defender for the first few game weeks as well. And I'll just default to Ben White as that 5.5 Arsenal defender. It could be, it could be any of the Arsenal back line, but I think Ben White will do for now. And for my final defensive spot, I mentioned with my FDR how West Ham have this quote unquote generous run of games. So makes sense to have some sort of West Ham cover there as well. And I'm not really heavily enthused with the West Ham defense, especially after how they fared last season. But I'm going to go just so that I've got West Ham cover, and assuming that he does start as well, I'm going to go for Cresswell for West Ham, just due to the attacking prowess that he's demonstrated over the years as well. No idea if he starts or not this season, may not, but at 5.0 million, you can't really go wrong, especially with the generous run of games as well. And also as the Europa Conference League champions, maybe they'll have some sort of zeal when they begin their campaign. Now, coming onto the midfield, I did talk about having a triple up of Brighton. So to complete that, I could have gone for Mitoma, but I really want to maximize the funds in my starting 11. So coming to Brighton, the midfielder I'm going to pick is actually, it could have been Gross as well. I'm going to go for March. Again, I have no idea how this Brighton team will fare without McAllister. I don't know what implications there'll be for March in terms of where he starts for Brighton this season. But I just need to get him in because I feel that, as per the tool from FPL.team, he'll be slightly cheaper than Mitoma. Coming on to my next midfield spot, keep it nice and simple. Saka, he's probably going to be the most expensive Arsenal midfielder, but he's fixture proof. And I know he had a poor mixed end to the season, but I feel that he'll hopefully hit the ground running come August. So I've got to get him in as well. Even if the fixture difficulty ratings aren't like the most pleasant according to my FDR for Arsenal, but yeah, Nottingham Forest first game week makes total sense. And then the remaining two spots are quite interesting. So I could easily say I have the funds to get Mohamed Salah in and Haaland in this template. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go for De Bruyne. If this is meant to be a quote unquote aggressive draft for the first 4 game weeks, and City have a far better opening 4 run of games than Liverpool, then I'm definitely going to, for argument's sake, for this illustration, pick De Bruyne. But of course, if I was to have this mode of thinking come close to the game week 1 deadline, then I might go Salah. But let's just have De Bruyne just for argument's sake. And then I want another City player. Assuming that he starts, I'm going to pick Mahrez as my final City midfielder. So in he comes as well. I mean, look at that. I mean, Gundogan's obviously gone. Foden could easily start. So could Grealish. But I'm going to pick Mahrez in my team. And coming on to my final 2 spots, it's a striking position. So obviously, Haaland will be one of those players. In he comes. And Haaland will be the captain. I've got 6.5 million in the bank. And then I look at the FDR options for one last time. There won't be a 6.5 million Chelsea striker. There won't be a 6.5 million West Ham striker. And yeah, I've maxed out on Brighton assets. Ferguson might be 6.5 million. I won't get a Luton forward at 6.5. Everton, Tottenham. I'm going to go further down all the way to Brentford, because even though Brentford are relatively low on this FDR scale, they've got Tottenham, who are in this transitional phase, opening game. Then they've got Fulham, so both are London derbies. And they've got Palace, another London derby as well. And then they've got Bournemouth. I think that is a generous run of games for Brentford to start the season off. So to complete that 6.5 million slot, I think Mbeumo is surely the best option. I did talk about it in my first draft that I only had 6 million and I chose Wissar. But if I had the extra 500,000, I would go for Mbeumo. So just showing you there, that's 15 transfers in. That's the budget maxed out. So Kepa in goal, White, Estupinan, Dunk and Cresswell, March, Mahrez, De Bruyne and Saka, Mbeumo and Haaland as my strikers. And then the bench is the fodder bench, which I've had in my first draft and my second draft as well. So I feel that this is, it's quite aggressive, but I feel that it's surprisingly balanced as well. And I think that if I was to just go all out for the first 4 game weeks and had every intention to wildcard from the get-go for the first international break, then a team like this would definitely be of interest as well. As always, let me know in the comments below if this sort of team, an aggressive quote-unquote team like this, is something that you'd consider as well for the opening 4 game weeks, or if you would decide to go for something a lot more safe and template as well. But yeah, it is what it is. Just another illustration really on what can be done with the budget. Take care and all the best, everyone. Thank you. Bye.